social media is changing shit up in the world. If you have bad behaviour, people are going to find out about it eventually. And that's why I fucking encourage people to stand up and speak up, say, hey, you know, speak up, man. Don't fucking be abused by someone and stay fucking silent. Especially when it's like a public figure.
Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day. There's a lot of awareness that really does need to be done as far as abuse and what abuse is and kind of who can, you know, who is abusive and who can be a target of abuse. A lot of this confusion where people don't understand kind of what narcissistic abuse is. They don't understand how damaging different forms of abuse can be. See the behavior for what it is and try to not get locked into, oh, it doesn't fit the mold of who I think can be abusive and who I think can be a target of abuse.
So today it's Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day, and that marks 1 year since I started the Unmasking series. And in this part I'm finally gonna get into what this whole series is about, and that is exposing Harley Johnstone as a rapist. I created the Unmasking series because Harley had created this false public image of himself that people bought into. He painted himself as this protector of girls in the community, while at the same time forcing himself on the girls he claimed to protect. A year ago I think people would find this reality hard to believe, and that's why I created the Unmasking series, so people could see the behavior for it is, like Dana said. Because of this illusion that Harley had created for himself, people have tried to discredit me and claim that I've made up these rape allegations during the Unmasking series, and that's simply not true. And I can prove it because before part 1 of the Unmasking, I uploaded this video. Hey everyone, I just want to make a quick video to update you guys on what's going to happen. Because Hannah's lawyer advised us to not speak about it and also advised us to take down the video I made about taking Harley to court. We haven't really spoken about it until now. So we're gonna go through, or I rather, gonna go through Hannah's story, but I'm also gonna go through the story of other victims of Harley's abuse. So we're gonna be fully transparent as Harley wanted, and we're gonna let you be the judge as Harley wanted, and we're gonna make it about rape, just as Harley wanted. So as you can see, this has been the plan all along, sharing Hannah's story and clearing her name. I also made another prediction last year. I know Harley don't want this stuff to come out, so he will do everything in his power to get my videos removed. And that's exactly what he did. He got my videos taken down one by one by filing false copyright claims, privacy complaints, reported them for harassment and bullying. He attacked my channel with dislike bots, which ultimately got my whole channel suspended. And the reason I knew that he would do everything to get my videos down is because narcissists are very concerned with their public image. Because their public image is what allows them to manipulate and abuse people. As you probably know by now, my girlfriend Hannah made a video 2 years ago called Durianrider's Hypocrisy, where she called Harley out for being a hypocrite. Because Harley accused another man in the community of having sexually predatory behavior, but the behavior he described was the exact behavior Hannah had experienced from Harley. After Hannah made her video, Harley literally tried to destroy her with a slanderous story, and that's what I'm gonna expose in the first section of this video.
There's 3 main ways that they go about manipulating with their words that I wanted to cover in this video. So the first way is stretching the truth. Stretching the truth, it's when very general facts are construed in a way that is designed to paint an inaccurate picture. Oftentimes, abusive people will blame their victim or blame their target for being the one with abusive, manipulative.
And she's manipulated them.
We're the ones with the problem, right? Like, we're the ones that are crazy, delusional, difficult, paranoid, whatever. After you confront them about something, that the conversation gets way off track, and next thing you know, you are having to either defend yourself or some behavior of yours in the past. Manipulative, abusive people are the kind of people that if you bring up something, they are not okay with that. In their mind, they're entitled to have issues with you or with us all day long, but we're not entitled to have even any type of issue with them. What they're doing is what's called a smear campaign. And it's where they basically have now spun the situation around to make them the victim of you. Trying to actually fight a smear campaign can be incredibly difficult.
Like anything else with the narcissist, there's like a kernel of truth, and then there's a big ball of a lie wrapped around it. So it's hard to, you can't ever separate the two. They're so enmeshed, and it's just so confusing.
Well, today we're gonna separate the two, so let's systematically go through his slander story and debunk his lies.
Another day, another drama. I'm a rapist, apparently. Allegedly.
Targets are not highlighting their abuse. Targets are usually hiding it. By overreacting when they hear this topic in conversation, they're outing themselves. Again, they're not grounded in reality. They're delusional. So they are completely unaware that their overreaction to you or friends talking about this certain subject is outing them.
So in the first few seconds of his first response video to Hannah, he already exposed himself. And some people that knew nothing about the situation could actually see through this, like this commenter, saying, "I have a feeling that he gave himself away with his response over Hannah's original video. Instead of answering and trying to defend against what she said, he actually tried to defend himself against what actually happened. His reaction betrayed him." And tons of people pointed out to him that Hannah didn't accuse him of rape in her video. It's almost like he didn't actually watch Hannah's video, and instead just assumed that he was being called out for raping her.
This morning I'm a rapist on YouTube. That's the new video today. Stay tuned on that one. That's what she's insinuating. What's that?
Are you doing a response?
Yeah, I'll have to now. I've got emails saying, "Did you
What
rape
are your
this girl?"
feelings to Hannah Chloe because you supported her so much and now she's coming out with this?
I kept all the emails, all the screenshots. This is gonna be good.
So making it a point to just have their victim twist in the wind. Like, I'm going to teach you a lesson. And that's really the feeling when you're going through something like this. That's exactly how you feel.
You know, I had been at the Q&A the following morning after watching Hannah's video, and Harley had said, plain as day, Hannah put out a video saying that I raped her. And I'm like, well, that's simply not the truth. A lot of people started to take that as the truth and talk about it as if it were the truth, and that's not what Hannah did. And I found a lot of other things about the public reaction to that whole video and that whole hoopla disturbing.
You have to remember that rape is all about power and control, and Hannah making this video standing up against him showed him that she was taking back this power and control that he had taken away from her. So this was a way for him to punish her, and also a way to show the other girls that this is what I'm gonna do to you if you dare to speak up against me.
I won't mention her name, and I'll disable comments on this video, just so people can actually listen to me.
That seems a bit weird in itself, that he would not want to mention this person's name, as if he doesn't want people to find that video and have their own opinion on things. He just wants to state his.
We have a person, a female individual, currently in Chiang Mai. I won't mention her name, because I don't hate the girl. I don't want her to get hate.
I hold no grudges at all. It can be seen, for example, in Lance Armstrong videos, and I assume you know who he is. When he was interviewed, are you on steroids, are you doping, are you taking any drugs? No. Like, your body gives off signals when you're lying, and I think he's being disingenuous to say that he doesn't hate this girl. I think he's fucking pissed.
Let's just call her HC. People who, in the community, will know who I'm talking about. And again, what this girl is doing is pretty shit, but I don't personally hold any grudges towards her at all.
So let's summarize what he said here. He's saying, I don't hate this girl, but she's currently in Chiang Mai and everyone knows who I'm talking about. And while he's saying publicly that he doesn't hate her, he's sending the most vile, sickening, hate-ridden messages privately that I will go through later on.
I went to a little potluck in Chiang Mai at this apartment block where everyone was staying. And there was a lot of us there. And HC was there as well. And we were talking a bit. She says, I had a problem with my MacBook. Have you got any tips? And I said, where's your computer? She goes, upstairs. She said, you can come up and have a look. So it's okay. So we went up to her room. Just me and her, no one else. She closed the door. We went in. She sat on her bed. And she had her computer out.
Okay, so let's separate the truth from the lies. Who better to separate the truth from the lies than Hannah herself?
So the kernel of truth in this part of his story is the potluck. There was a potluck in my apartment building that I was at with my friends, and for those of you who have been in social gatherings around him, You'll know what I mean when I say that. He was like really a loner. Like we were eating and enjoying ourselves and talking and playing a game, and he was sitting by himself in the corner eating, I think it was oranges or mandarins. And honestly, like we just felt sorry for him and we felt quite awkward around him. So we made a point of trying to include him in our conversation, and I was talking about the fact that I just about finished my ebook, and so I offered to show it to him, and I said that I'd just go up and grab my computer, and he said that he'd come up as well because he wanted to use my bathroom. And the apartment that we were in, the bathroom was right beside the room that everyone was in, so I could understand that he didn't want to go to the bathroom with all these people in the next room. So I said, sure, you can use my bathroom, and we went upstairs. And
so it was not about like computer problem that he claims, that was
No.
just like some...
I've not had a computer problem.
Because these people, they lie so much all the time, even about stuff that a normal person, it wouldn't even make sense to lie about.
Like it wouldn't make a difference if
Yeah.
it was like computer problems.
It's
or not.
irrelevant.
Yeah.
As we were going up the staircase, he was like saying something about how I had nice perfume, and I was just like, I'm not wearing perfume, basically. And so he went to the bathroom, and he makes a big point about the fact that I sat on my bed, but as you can see in this clip, there was literally nowhere else to sit in my room. For those of you who have lived in Chiang Mai, you know apartments are usually, you know, furnished very minimally. So I was sitting on my bed, and he went to the toilet, and it was honestly quite uncomfortable and disgusting listening to him go to the toilet. I like barely knew this guy, and yeah, he came out and was still talking about my perfume and how he'd used it as an air freshener. So clearly he'd like been going through my things while he was in the bathroom, which was just again weird.
He also makes a big point out of how Hannah closed the door, like that's a big thing.
I don't actually remember whether I closed my door or not.
It's completely normal to close the door after you when you go into your apartment, right?
I mean, I might not have even closed my door. I literally, like, it wasn't something that I thought about.
He's painting this picture to make it seem like you were interested when...
Yeah.
And this is how he's like taking the truth and like twisting it for his own agenda to make people believe his lies.
There's always some sort of kernel of truth to whatever they're saying, but it's surrounded in a big ball of a lie. It's very interwoven, and that's a whole exercise in crazy making. Don't even try to go down that bunny hole.
And I could tell there was a bit of attraction going on there. Mutual attraction, adult mutual attraction.
I think we have to take sexual attraction away from rape. The key driver of rape is its power, its humiliation, its degradation.
And I found she was a nice girl, well, she was, and she obviously liked me.
Now you can start to understand why I've made the Unmasking series, because in part 1 of the Unmasking I went through the traits of a narcissist, and one of the traits is preoccupied with fantasy. And here you can clearly see that he's preoccupied with fantasy, claiming that, oh, she obviously liked me, when she didn't.
I just felt sorry for him.
Number 2, they're preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. This one would be kind of hard to prove because most narcissists don't think that they're fantasies. Like they think that they're realities, right? So I don't know how you would really even kind of prove that. I guess you'd have to listen to them talk, and then you'd have to kind of make that judgment.
When you're dealing with an abuser, they rationalize, they justify, they excuse, and they make, stories up that make it okay for them to do what they are doing.
And I said, well, I'm going to go back downstairs, finish my meal, we'll talk more, blah, blah, blah.
So this is a pretty insignificant lie by itself, that he kind of initiated going downstairs again, but when you add up all these lies, he's constantly portraying the idea that Hannah wanted him alone in her apartment, and she closed the door and she sat down on her bed, and he's constantly like painting this picture. It's pure manipulation.
He also says that he has to go back downstairs to finish his meal. Like, he wasn't eating with us. Like I said before, he was eating like oranges or some kind of thing, and he had eaten the oranges, so it's insignificant like Michael said, but it's just frustrating when you have, what happened, and he's clearly just talking shit.
Yeah, to manipulate.
And so we talked a bit more, we had email conversation or Instagram conversation. I've got it all saved somewhere after, because I sort of had a hunch something might turn out.
So here he's contradicting himself. He just said that Hannah was a nice girl, but now he's suddenly saying that, oh, he had a hunch that something might turn up. Also take note of how he is claiming that he has email and Instagram conversations saved, because he's gonna be called out on that.
So we go back downstairs, we talk more, and I think later on it was HC did really cool banners and graphics. She does really good stuff. She's got good talent there. And I said, how about you, if you want, design me a book cover for my Durianrider's Lean Body Bible, the cycling ebook, and do me a little channel banner. And if you do that, if you're happy with doing that, I'll give your ebook a shout out, a video just for the thing, giving it a plug. Because I think the information's good and you're a nice girl. And she's like, win-win situation. I win, I get my banner, I get my graphics, HC wins, she gets a big plug.
So here you can see for yourself that Harley says that they had already agreed on a shout out for Hannah helping him with the cover art and the ebook cover. Later he changed the story to Hannah sleeping with him for a shout out. So the truth sure changed a lot here.
That's how you know that he's lying, because his story is so inconsistent and he can never stick to one version of the story because it's a lie.
And then so I said, well, maybe come over to my hotel and one night and we can sit down and work it out. She said, no worries.
So what actually happened was I was working full time at that point, and so I finished work and I went home and changed, not into something nice, just into something other than my uniform, because I thought we were going to go to a vegan cafe. He asked me to meet him at Taipei Gate, and a lot of vegan restaurants are around that area, like and Taste from Heaven. And so I went to Taipei Gate in the early evening and he was late, so I just talked to this. Any of you who were in Chiang Mai might have known about the free hugs guy that would stay around Taipei Gate area, and so I was talking to him while I waited for the Narc to arrive, and like I said, he was late, so I was like kind of annoyed that I'd been waiting there. And when he arrived, he really didn't say very much to me. He just was like, let's go, and rode off. And I assumed we were going to go to one of the nearby vegan cafes, like I said, but he just rode off to what would turn out to be his hotel. I didn't actually know that we were going to go there, and I wouldn't have been okay with that had he told me, which is probably why he didn't.
So it's like, okay, so she turns up one night to my hotel and she's dressed nicely, you know, attractively. And it's like, okay, here we go.
So again, he claims that Hannah just turned up to his hotel room, that we know is a lie.
And he also said that I was dressed nicely, and the truth is, I had changed out of my school uniform into my cycling leggings and a t-shirt. It wasn't particularly nice.
Even if it was, you had dressed up super nicely, we have to remember that this is a girl in her early 20s in Thailand, where it's like 30 degrees, and she was thinking that she was going to a cafe, so that would be, like, that's not a point.
Yeah.
And like, clothes, what someone is wearing is no excuse. That's victim blaming.
They'll say it's because you came on to me. You were too sexual. You were wearing a tank top. You were, whatever. The wind was blowing in the right direction. They will always blame the targets of abuse.
90% of people who are victims of rape or sexual assault in this country are raped by people who know them. It is entirely irrelevant what they're wearing.
Rape has nothing to do with what you're wearing. Rapists are opportunists. And much like a narcissist, they are looking for vulnerabilities.
They will always blame whoever they were abusing, always.
So it really has nothing to do with the victim. It's not that, she was wearing a short skirt, or she talked to him at the bar, or she invited him into her apartment. It has everything to do with power and control. And that's really narcissism in pretty much a nutshell. That's what they're really all about.
What they're doing is they're blaming, shaming, and guilt tripping. That's what they do.
And just to really drive this point home, how ridiculous this argument is, let's watch this comedy sketch where rape culture is reversed.
Here's your tea. Are you feeling a bit better?
Not really, no.
Okay, well, can you describe the man who mugged you?
He was about 5'10", short dark hair. He put a knife to my throat and he demanded my phone and my watch.
And were you wearing what you're wearing now?
Sorry?
Is this what you were wearing when it happened?
Yes, but...
You look quite provocatively wealthy.
Look, I fail to see how what I wear has any...
Well, just a bit of an invitation, isn't it? Like you're advertising it.
Look...
You seem distressed. I'm going to bring one of our counsellors in. This gentleman's a bit upset. He was mugged earlier.
Oh dear. Had you been drinking?
Yes, because if you've had a drink, it can send out confusing signals. Lead somebody on with a nice suit and the phone, and then at the last minute say, I don't want to be mugged.
He put a knife to my throat and he demanded my possessions.
And you just gave them to him.
Did you even scream?
See, how is somebody to know that you don't enjoy handing over your possessions unless you make your intentions clear?
No, I didn't scream. He had a knife. I was really scared.
And we're very sympathetic, but I'm afraid you're going to have to accept some of the responsibility for this.
And we had plenty of places in the place to work. She's like, where should we sit? And I said, sit anywhere. She goes, that looks all right. So she plonks the computer on the coffee table, a little small couch. I said, okay. So I sat next to her. This is a big hotel room. We had like chairs and tables and stuff like that. But HC chose to sit on the couch. So I sat next to her. So this is going to be good.
Actually, there were only 2 places to sit in his hotel room. As you can see, he uploaded this video that actually shows you what it looked like. So there were the 2 bar stools, and that's actually where I first sat. And I was sitting there on my laptop, and then he said that he was going to take a shower. And while he was in the shower, that's when I went to the couch, because I'm quite short and my feet couldn't reach the bottom of the bar stool, so it was kind of uncomfortable, and that's why I chose the couch after the bar stool.
Also notice where the couch is placed, at the end of the bed. That reminds me of something.
He's got a fucking sofa next to his fucking bed. It's a 1-bedroom place. Now, I've dealt with enough sexual predators in my life, and that rings my fucking radar hardcore. If it doesn't ring your radar hardcore, some fucking weirdo in fucking Southeast Asia talking to teenage girls on the internet.
When a narcissist judges someone, what they're really doing is they're projecting. In other words, they are seeing themselves in other people.
You can sleep on that couch over there. It's only 2 meters from the foot of my bed.
And if you ever notice when a narcissist judges someone, and you know that narcissist well, they're actually talking about themselves.
And we talked for a bit, we did the work, maybe we talked for an hour or 3 hours. It was pretty late at night, maybe past midnight. She turned up maybe 8 o'clock, so we were hanging out for a long time. And the vibes were good, the vibes were mutual.
As we already know, Hannah didn't just turn up, and it was not late at night, and he's actually contradicting himself once again. He's saying that the vibes were mutual, but later in this same video, he's confirming that they weren't.
And I thought, well, I'm gonna see where I stand here. So I wrote on the app or something like that, I said, would you like to kiss me? And I showed her that. She started laughing and giggling. She's like, what do you mean? And we had a bit more of a chat, and she's like, oh, well, I don't know. And she didn't really want to do it, so I said, no worries.
So as I just said here, he actually admits that the vibes weren't mutual. And you have to remember, Hannah was there just to help him with the ebook cover and the cover art. And then, like, there weren't any vibes, or Hannah didn't find him attractive, and then suddenly he asks about this. Like, it's a completely normal reaction to be like, what do you mean? Because there was nothing there.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable.
What they do too is they will admit to like the bare minimum. The reality is you will never know the full truth. They're gonna deny and they're gonna lie about everything.
And I didn't want her to feel creeped out, so I asked more questions. I said, what's wrong here? She says, you know, you've just broken up. And I said, look, I'm not looking for a girlfriend. I find you attractive. You obviously find me attractive. This is nothing serious. You know, it's just a Chiang Mai sort of thing. She's like, okay, but nothing happened, and she went home.
Nothing happened, and she went home. He actually admits to this. Hannah actually went home before she had finished the work that she had gone there to do. At this point, she had only finished the channel art.
And then we talked more, and then she said the next day, she sent me an email saying, do you want me to come over tonight and we can do some more work? And I said, okay, no pressure. So she came over again.
So here he claimed that Hannah had sent an email asking to come back. And as you have seen earlier in this video, he has said that he has stored all the emails, all the Instagram messages. So for those of you who doubt what we're saying, ask him to provide this email. It won't happen. We got emails though, and because he has lied about the dates, we have to prove what the actual dates were. Here you can see an email Hannah's friend sent to her dad. This is the friend who stayed at Hannah's at the time. And as you can see by the date, it was sent 26th of October 2015. And in the email it says, we're going to a potluck dinner at one of her friend's rooms tonight. Which means the potluck was on the 26th and they met at Tappe Gate on the 27th. Now let's talk about the 28th. Here you can see the file for the ebook cover was created Wednesday 28th of October at 3:53 p.m.
Yeah, so I did the ebook cover as soon as I had time at work. I had my last class and it was actually my last day of work, so I had plans that evening to go to Taste from Heaven with my friends and celebrate. So I did the ebook cover when I could that afternoon, as we've showed you in the screenshot. And
like, this is why it doesn't make sense that you supposedly sent an email asking to come over, because you had already plans with friends. So
yeah,
like the story doesn't add up.
Yeah, and so I sent the email and like giving him the ebook cover. Basically, like from my perspective, that was the end. Like, I'd done what he'd asked me to do and that was it. But he turned up at Taste from Heaven, where he knew I would be, and kind of just invited himself to our table and gate crashed. And then Emmy and Tanner made a video about this situation that he pretended to know anything about.
You're gonna go through that later.
Yeah, so Emmy arrived with Tanner and they were going to film a video with the narc like at this place that was on the way back to our apartment building, and the friends that I were with were going to Maya Moore. And because I had a friend staying with me, I didn't want to just leave her at my apartment all night. She was doing, as you could see in her email to her father, assignments. So I intended to go back from the dinner to my apartment to be with my friend. And what happened was we were on the way back to the apartment building, and Emmy and Tanner and the narc were filming some video. Like, I don't really remember what the video was for. It was some stupid video like they usually do. And he said to me in front of Emmy and Tanner that I hadn't finished the ebook that I had promised to do for him, and I was like, well, I've emailed it to you. And he said that he had some amendments that he wanted to make to it, and it wasn't going to be very long, and it was just a couple of things. And I was quite hesitant. I think he could tell that, like, and my friends Emmy and Tanner could tell as well that I was like, so he said that he had this bike pump and he also mentions this in his video, that he had this bike lock and bike pump that he wanted to give me. And the reason he did that is because I was using Tanner's bike pump at the time. So to ask me to offer this bike pump to me and for me to not take it when I was using Tanner's, like, it was very difficult for me to say no, because Tanner would be like, why don't you take this bike pump? You're using mine and you have a free one offered to you. So it was just, I didn't put all this information in my original video because I didn't want to share my story. I still don't really want to share my story.
That's what he is counting on, that because he knows you don't want to share it. Basically, he used social pressure to like pressure her to come back with him to his hotel room to supposedly work on finish the ebook
and get this free bike pump. And that was like all these details I didn't feel was really necessary to put into my original video, because it just seemed like I was bringing in Emmy and Tanner into this situation that it wasn't about. I didn't want to make it about this.
And we got it on. She sat in the same little position on the sofa, and we're making out on the sofa, and then HC says, maybe we should go to the bed. And I said, only if you're comfortable with that.
Only if you're comfortable with that. Now, does that sound like something Harley would say in that situation? Or any guy in that situation, for that matter?
And we went to the bed and progressed. We had sex. And it was adult, consensual sex. She didn't say that in her video, though.
Now, if this was true, then Hannah's video would make absolutely no sense. So clearly there's something that doesn't add up here. And let me ask you this. What's the worst thing a rapist can do to their victim? It's to publicly shame and humiliate them, like Harley's doing to Hannah here, right?
So what actually happened is a really unpleasant, horrible story, and I think once you hear it, you will understand why I didn't want to put it in my original video, and why I certainly haven't wanted to make this public. The amendments that he wanted me to make to his ebook cover were that he wanted photos of him and Freely on it. And so when he said that, I thought that was strange, because he'd just told me the day before that he'd broken up with her. So I said to him, like, are you sure she would be okay with that? And maybe it's a bit weird to put your ex on your ebook cover, and he said that he'd already asked her and she was fine with it. And so I did that. I put the photos of them under the art that I had created that day. And he wasn't sitting beside me. He was like, I wasn't really paying attention to what he was doing, and he was just somewhere in his room behind me. And when I finished putting the ebook cover together, I turned around to tell him that I'd finished it, and he had obviously been arousing himself behind me, because when I turned around, he stood right behind me with an erection, and I just froze and turned around, and he walked around and sat beside me on the couch, and there was a cushion beside me, and he picked it up and put it over his crotch. And that's when he said, like, have you thought more about what we talked about last night? And I said, yes, I had thought about it, and the answer was still no. And when he said that, that's when I noticed that his voice had changed. It was like a little boy, and I just remember thinking, like, how strange and scary that was, that he'd like become this different person. And so I said no, and he was trying to kiss me and like asking if he could kiss me, and then like leaning in, and I had to like lean out of the way. And I said no, and he would ask for more. He asked to have sex, and I said no. And he wasn't taking my answer. He wasn't like listening to what I was saying, basically, and he was just touching me and trying to kiss me and asking me for sex. And so I started saying all these excuses, like, you've just broken up with Freely, and I'm on my period, and yeah. And so he kissed me anyway and wasn't really listening and was touching me, and so I got up and said, like, I have to leave now. And
then he grabbed her and choked her and forced himself on her. And if he didn't, he can bring us to court.
Like they rage. These rages can also lead to physical violence. It can lead to rape.
When they don't get their way, they get angry, they get violent.
Michael, just wait a second. Yo, bro, what's up?
They'll graduate from raping to choking. They'll graduate from that to something else that is life-threatening.
And a little bit of choking, she likes that. All right, man, I've been doing it for you. How's Norway?
They are sadists. They enjoy the fear. They enjoy the pain. They enjoy the look of terror on the target's face. That's part of what they get off on, okay? Because remember, we're dealing with dark triads. We're dealing with psychopath, narcopath, Machiavellian, and they get off on the look of fear in the target's face.
You talk to an abuser, they abso-fucking-lutely know what they are doing, and they tell you they know what they are doing. They admit to it. They're stupid. They tell you,
And a little bit of choking, she likes that.
They tell you exactly what they have done, and they're somewhat proud of it, because manipulating to them is everything. So don't you kid yourself for one fucking second that this person doesn't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
Again, this is why I put together the whole Unmasking series, so people could learn more about how narcissists operate, because a lot of people don't really know about this. Part 4 was about narcissistic injury and narcissistic rage, and that's what happened in the hotel room. Hannah rejected him, which caused narcissistic injury, and that made him rage and choke her. He's a rapist, and he admits to it. He claims that Hannah liked being choked. And the only reason he admitted to that is, like, if you follow the whole Unmasking series, you know that his channel was suspended because once my videos came out, people turned against him and started to dislike his videos. So he started to buy fake likes, which ended up getting his channel suspended by YouTube. And when that happened, by pure coincidence, me and Hannah happened to be in San Francisco, so I decided to troll him, make a video and make it out that we were the ones that got him shut down. And that caused so much narcissistic injury. You have to remember that this is all a game for him, and he plays to win. And when I started to just play along with his game and I started to get the upper hand, this made him so angry. So when we made out that we were the one that got him taken down, in his efforts to get back at me especially, he just couldn't keep it together. So he revealed this thing that he knew that I knew. So we made this video saying that Hannah liked being choked. And that's how I know that Hannah is speaking the truth. Because Hannah hadn't told this to anyone but me. And then he makes a jokes out of it. And Harley is now saying, if he's a rapist, why isn't the police involved and why isn't he arrested? Well, he has already made multiple videos telling us why.
It was 2015, I think it was end of 2015, he sexually assaulted 2 women that I personally knew. And because his girl's international, not much can really be done. Why is it so hard for rape victims, sexual assault victims to prosecute their predators, their attackers? Because it's really hard to motherfucking prove it. It's really hard to prove it. Unless it's on camera, unless there's witnesses, but then again, it's their word against mine. It's very, 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 very hard to prosecute assault cases when there's no witnesses. Sexual assault, rape, very, very hard. Thinking that if you go to the police, they're going to solve all your problems for you. It's not going to happen. It's not NYPD. You know, it's not Bad Boys on TV where the cops kick down the door, arrest a criminal, drag them out. It's not that easy. And most of the time, people just give up, especially when you're dealing with girls.
It's interesting when Harley accuses other men. It's so hard for the girls to get justice for it. But when Harley is accused of it, then it's suddenly, oh, why am I not arrested if I'm a rapist? And it doesn't take very much logic thinking if you see this guy constantly talking about rape and sexual assault and how rapists operate, and he's constantly talking about it. This is not normal. And at the same time, he has multiple girls coming forward about him. Is it really so hard to believe that Harley is a rapist? The way he abuses girls publicly, is it so hard to believe he's doing that privately too?
When you report something, you better be prepared for the repercussions.
If a man gets accused of rape, it's a setup. The woman's lying.
That women don't report because of the extreme retaliation.
As bad as it was being raped, what was as bad, if not worse, was to receive professional retaliation.
A lot of times the credibility of the witness was called into account. Had the potential victim, had she made claims like this in the past. There was a lot of witch hunting going on.
I was ordered to advise a victim of her rights for false statement when I knew that she wasn't lying. I was asked to bring her in and advise her of her rights like a criminal and interrogate her for false statement, quote unquote, until I got the truth out of her.
So do you want to file a report?
Even with the rape kit and everything, and my friend catching him raping me, they still don't believe me.
I reported it 2 different times, and he told me that there was nothing he can do about it because I didn't have any proof.
They actually did charge me with adultery. I wasn't married, he was.
But your case is unique in one way. I mean, you were convicted and actually went to jail, which hardly ever happens. So welcome back, Brock. I think you'll find that little has changed, which isn't surprising since after all, you were only in jail for 3 months.
And part of the reason why it is so rampant and why it is happening is because people don't talk about it, because there's too much shame, because there's too much fear, because there's too much shame. So this is why stuff does not get reported. This is why you have to understand this is more rampant than anybody is even aware of. And this is why I am speaking up and out on this topic. It happens. And it is never the fault of the target of abuse, which is why I get so angry when somebody tells their story and they're either not believed or they're poo-pooed or they're told it's their fault. Oh God. So I had someone a few years ago who was molested by their father, and they were like, oh, I shouldn't have worn this. I shouldn't have said this. I shouldn't have gone out looking for his approval. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that. And I'm looking at her going, you did nothing wrong. That person chose to abuse. That person chose to molest. That person chose to do harm.
So let me tell you a little bit about how we try to get justice through the legal system. So first of all, we didn't want to do this in Thailand because it's a third world country and we just didn't want to deal with that. So we called the Australian police, but as soon as they heard that it happened in Thailand, they said we have to report it in Thailand. So what we decided to do was to sue Harley for defamation instead, because that we could still do in Australia. So we get the lawsuit started and we wait for Harley to get back to Australia, but he doesn't go back. He hides out in Thailand. So what we decide to do after a while is to just say, screw it, we're just gonna move it to Thailand. We're not gonna let this guy get away with this. So we contact the New Zealand embassy and they recommend a lawyer and we start the whole lawsuit there. And when we start to get the lawsuit running, of course, Harley flees the country. Now that we already were in Thailand, we decided to report the rape too. And this is how incompetent the Thai police were. When we were at the police station, they were like obsessed with this recording that Harley had mentioned several times. So the police actually made Hannah contact her rapist to get him to send the recording to her. But of course he didn't. But without the recording, the police couldn't, like, we could go through with it, but it would be a very uncertain outcome. And we also talked to them about how the process were, and it was like Hannah had to tell the whole thing in front of like 5 policemen or something. It was just a mess. And also my visa was running out, so I had to leave Thailand, and Hannah didn't want to do this alone, and it was just a mess. So what we decided to do is to move the lawsuit back to Australia. So we contact the same lawyer first, but she had moved firm, so she couldn't take our case anymore. So we find a lawyer that had dealt with Harley before, and he basically advised us not to sue. As he said, Harley didn't really have much. He had a few bikes and a shitty apartment, and it wasn't really much he could offer us. So the lawsuit would most likely just be a big loss for us. And that's when I decided to create the Unmasking series, because I'm not gonna let Harley get away with this. As you may know, we started a fundraiser, and because people donated, I think they deserve to know what happened with the lawsuits. And if they want, like, we've spent the money, but if they want a refund, I'll be happy to like refund them, because we promised to take him to court, but we couldn't, and I'm a man of my word. So let me just prove that this was real. I'm just gonna go through the emails quickly. You can pause and read them if you want. First, you can see we contacted NetSafe, then we contacted the police. We had already talked with them over the phone, so we were only asking about defamation in the emails. As you can see in this email, we always tried to go with this lawyer that we knew had experience with Harley from before. And here's just the rest of the email from the associate. Here's another email with some more information. Here you can see the lawyer telling us that the fundraiser video we made can be used against us, and that's why we took it down. And here you can see Hannah saying that she put the video on private. And here's more proof that Harley was staying out of the country, saying that we don't have to pay anything until he's back, because they can't do anything until he's back.
So if you want to fucking take me to fucking court, fucking take me to court. And motherfuckers can take me to court, and I'll gladly turn up. Any court, any motherfucking time.
So if someone wants to sue me, or put on bogus charges or whatever, I don't turn up a lawyer. I turn up with my truth.
No, he won't. He won't turn up at all. He's all bark and no bite. It's weird because he makes some videos where he's all like, I'd gladly turn up, but in other videos again, he's saying that he's gonna make every lawsuit so expensive, and he's just gonna tell the lawyers that he lost the papers and stuff. So he's saying two opposite things at the same time.
I will make that lawyer's life so good, because I'll be able to extract as much money as possible just by saying, hey look, can you please send me the paperwork again? I lost it. I know you sent those big files all the way to Australia and it cost you thousands of dollars, but I lost it. Could you send them again? And the lawyers go, yeah, no worries, because the lawyers want to make more money. And so that's what I've done before with situations like that. And it just racks up massive bills for anyone who wants to fucking go head to head with Durianrider.
It's kind of like how he said that the lawsuit was fake, but also complaining about our lawsuit.
I've got a gold digger from New Zealand right now trying to get money out of me. Just a fucking gold digger, scheming, slimy scumbag. Someone sends me a link, they're like, they're fucking asking for $15,000 US to take Durianrider to fucking court because of something Durianrider said to defend his name against allegations of fucking craziness.
But the most ridiculous thing is that while he is avoiding our lawsuit, he's claiming that we're running away from his lawsuit. Projection much? Here you can see the lawyer telling us that his publications do contain defamatory statements. Here's an email from the New Zealand embassy after we have talked to them on the phone. Here's their recommendation for a Thai lawyer. Here's some advice on filing sexual assault charges. And here's emails between Hannah and the Thai lawyer. Here's some more emails. I think it's clear that this is real now. Here you can see we had to go to Bangkok to meet with the lawyer and the police. So it's not just the lawsuit itself that cost money. We have to travel, and we have to live in a hotel and go back and forth from the law office, and so the expenses added up, and we spent a lot more than the $500 we got from the fundraiser. Yet the vegan YouTube community accused us of scamming. Another email about how we're going to Bangkok, emails about meeting with the embassy, a follow-up after the meeting. And here's some footage of Hannah's lawyers and Hannah talking to the police. I think it's pretty clear that this is real. The fact that we have to prove this at all, I think that says everything you need to know about the vegan YouTube community. And here you can actually see that Harley's messages are printed out. And this is where I got Hannah to ask Harley to send the recordings that he has used as blackmail. But of course he didn't do that. Here you can see we're giving up on pursuing legal actions in Thailand. And here's the email where we got back in touch with the lawyer we had in Australia. And as I said, she couldn't take our case anymore because of her new firm. So we contacted the lawyer that we initially wanted to go with again, as you can see here. But as he advised us not to pursue it, we reported him to Acorn and continued with the unmasking. So as you can see, we've done pretty much everything we can to get justice through the legal system. People are just so ignorant to the bureaucratic mess you have to go through when dealing with multiple countries and nationalities. A good example of this is Martine, a Norwegian girl who was raped and murdered in London. Coincidentally, the main suspect left the country the morning after. They tend to do that, don't they? Martine's father has worked full-time for over a decade to get justice for his daughter. Multiple ministers of foreign affairs have been involved, the case has gotten coverage by several mainstream outlets, documentaries have been made, even the people of Yemen, the suspect's home country, have protested. Still, justice has not been served. Hannah and I are not going to spend 10 years of our lives to try to get justice through the legal system when that would rob us of enjoying our own lives together. And we've now flipped the situation around anyway. If you really believe that we're falsely accusing Harley of rape and that I've somehow fabricated all of this evidence, instead of asking us why we don't report him, ask Harley why he doesn't sue us. This would be serious defamation if it wasn't true. Actions speak louder than words. And again, we've done everything in our power to solve this legally. Do you think it's a coincidence that Harley commits his crimes in Thailand? He even encourages criminals to go there.
You have a criminal record against my name. Come to Thailand, bro. Come to Thailand, you know.
I'm amazed that anyone would think that I would spend 2 years of my life on this if he wasn't a rapist. Not to mention that I would stay with a girl who would lie about this kind of thing. And despite our efforts to solve this behind closed doors, we're also being accused of doing this for social media attention. Who would want social media attention for this kind of thing? The only reason I want my videos to get attention is so people, especially vulnerable young women, can be warned. Remember that Hannah didn't have any warning. Back in 2015, everyone said that Harley was such a great guy. And those who said he wasn't was silenced, just as he has tried to silence me. I've exposed a narcissist and a criminal and cleared my girlfriend's name, and vegan YouTubers are accusing me of wanting social media attention. It's so disgraceful, but that's the vegan YouTube community for you. This is the kind of stupidity you have to deal with when going up against Harley. He has really managed to attract the most gullible enablers you can think of. As Hannah said earlier, she didn't want to share her story, and Harley knows this. That's what he's counting on. And that's exactly why I did the exact opposite of what he was counting on. I gave him several warnings that they would blow this thing wide open if he kept running away from being legally held accountable. Trust me, I didn't want to spend 2 years of my life on this loser. But what choice did I have when he was constantly spreading lies about my girlfriend? Would you let a rapist get away with that? My sense of justice is just too strong for that. Let me repeat once again that he has made over 500 pages worth of slander about both of us. That's the 500 pages I know of. There's probably another 500 pages I don't know about. And a big portion of that was made after Hannah's initial video without any response. But he has not been alone in doing this. Many other vegan YouTubers have participated. Most of them have now silently deleted their part in it. But there are still some people who continue, even in 2018. Just a couple of months ago, yet another parody was made about Hannah's situation. That's the third parody of her. How much harassment and public ridicule are we supposed to tolerate from the vegan YouTube community before we say enough is enough? Hannah left the platform almost 2 years ago and is still being made fun of, just because she stood up against an abuser. The saddest part about this is that this is exactly how Harley has gotten away with his crimes for so long. If Hannah's video had been taken seriously, if people didn't constantly put focus on her instead of the person she spoke up about, what happened to Josie could have been prevented. As you may know, I wanted to finish this video by naming and shaming those who named and shamed Hannah. But as you can see, this video is way too long already, and I'm just thinking, what's the point? Sure, it would give me some vindictive satisfaction, but these people are losers and they're a waste of time. My goal was to expose Harley, which I've done. I've done this at a massive personal sacrifice. It has not gotten me any closer to my dreams or goals. Hannah didn't even want me to do the unmasking. She knew it would only prolong a very painful time, which it has. Of course, it wouldn't only have been about some vindictive satisfaction. I also wanted to show just how bad Hannah was being cyberbullied by vegan YouTubers, because I don't think people really understand how bad it really was until they see it all put together. And don't forget that YouTube allowed this to continue. The vegan YouTube community is the most vile, toxic and disgusting community I've ever come across. So now I'll join the ever-increasing list of people who have left it and don't want to be associated with it. Lastly, I want to thank everyone who has supported us through this battle, especially those of you who supported Hannah after her initial video. I don't think you understand how much that meant to her, and I'd like to encourage everyone who sees this kind of cyberbullying to reach out to the person and give them support. As I said, I don't think you understand how much that means to the person in the situation. I also want to thank everyone who has contacted me about Harley and his wrongdoings, whether it was to share a personal story or to give me a tip about something else related to the Unmasking series. Many of the things I've exposed has been because I've been informed about it. Like the frauds video started out with a tip I got about Harley plagiarizing other people's content. But now that the unmasking is concluded, my part in this is over. The worst thing you can do to a narcissist is to ignore him, and that's what Hannah has done for 2 years now. And it's time for me to join her. I just had to unmask him first. There'll probably be another 500 pages of slander about Hannah and I in the coming years, but that really says more about him than it does about us. The truth is now out there. If people choose to ignore it, that's on them. If anything, I hope that when Harley continues to attack people, instead of wasting their time on defending themselves, that they can just point to the Unmasking series.
I have imagined this moment